Welcome back to Pop Goes the 60s. I'm Matt Williamson, and I recently did a video talking about the latest Beatles release, which is the US albums from 1964, the Capitol Mixes, an odd title since one of the albums is from 1965, but who's counting, you know. But I wanted to talk about this a little bit more because it was a year ago that I asked my audience to take part in a survey that talked about what they wanted to see released next. And let me go over this list with you of what you guys wanted a year ago. And everything on this top 10 list, oddly enough, we haven't gotten. The number one thing on here is Rubber Soul. So this is something that politically inside of Apple, I'm not sure what's going on. It seems like they might have said, well, let's wait till the 60th anniversary, which is next year, 2025. Okay. But they didn't release Revolver on the 60th anniversary. I'm not a big fan of this anniversary business. If it should come out, it seems like it should come out, you should have a schedule of your big items to come out and maybe sprinkle in some smaller Beatle items in the year. Don't conflict with the solo stuff. I don't know, it seems pretty simple to me. But for whatever reasons, Rubber Soul, which has been remixed for now a year and a half or longer, since 2022 at least, still hasn't come out. So instead we get things like the Capitol Mixes 1964 in a box set. That's $300 US, $530 in Canada. I don't know how you Canucks can afford to live up there. But some of this stuff is starting to not make sense to us fans or us collectors. And people are voicing their opinion about it. So I thought it would be a good idea to go through the stuff that we had talked about a year ago. So the next thing on the list was Magical Mystery Tour. Obviously we had the box set treatment really started in 2017 with the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper. Prior to that, we didn't really have something we expected annually. So we were conditioned that an album in this box set treatment like this fancy box, is going to come out annually, at least till they get through all the Beatles albums. Well, that stopped after Revolver. And obviously they're going to have to go out of order because they started with Pepper. And so Magical Mystery Tour is one that was done in some fashion somewhat recently. This was 2012. And this is a really nicely put together package that has, and I bought this to upgrade the DVD I had. So I bought this for the actual film. So you open it up, it's got this very nice book that has behind the scenes photos. It's got casting notes, locations, stuff that we really haven't seen. So this is really valuable, I think. Got your ticket. And then they come out, they've got a DVD and Blu-ray. And then this is the EP, which I had since the 80s because I bought the EP set. So this wasn't important to me at all, but it came with it. And this is, I think, has been out of print not that long. But it seems like it'd be fairly easy to blow this up to what the box sets we're used to, include audio stuff that we're used to getting as well. The outtakes and things like that, the remixed version of the album. And I think that would make a wonderful package, since this, I believe, is now out of print. I do see some of them on Amazon, but I'm not sure if they're technically in print at all. Now, one of the great things about the Beatles, as we're going to see with some of these, is that they've got film that can go along with what I would call an audio release. Not many bands can say that. So by virtue of having a DVD or some kind of film version along with the album, the music, I think can make this a very special package, because you've got such great visuals without this book and all those pictures, and then the original booklet that came with the album also. So this, to me, I think could be done very well. I think people would respond to it. People that want the remix, people that want the booklet. There's plenty of things in here for the fan. So that is the second thing on the list that I think could be done. Third on the list was Live at the Star Club. Now, there's been talk of Peter Jackson touching that up with the software he developed. I think that would be a wonderful box set. Maybe there'd be 3-4 albums worth, records worth, and maybe 2-3 CDs worth of material. So not super huge, I don't believe. But I think historically, if you could write the notes to go along with the tracks that were recorded, the places, I think that'd be a really historically very nice set. And I think from a historical standpoint, is something that's somewhat needed. It has been released, and it was a budget type of release. It was junk. It had didn't have any photos of the band on it when it came out in '77. And the Beatles did buy it, they do own it, so they could do something special with it. And so far they haven't. Number 4, Help. So I bought this Help box. This came out, I believe, in 2012. I bought this not that long ago, expecting it to be like a DVD this size. I wasn't expecting much, and it was super cheap. It was like, I want to say like 35 bucks or something. So I get this big thing, and let's have a look at it. Very nice box, high gloss. We've got this kind of wax paper cover on it. And then you've got a book. Let's see, this is actually 2 DVDs, one with the film, one with the making of the film, a documentary. Then you have this wonderful book, all these great photos, behind the scenes stuff, memorabilia, lobby cards. There's a poster, a reproduction of the actual film poster in here. Let's just pull it out a little bit. I've actually never opened this all the way, but you get the idea. So this kind of treatment with all these pop cultural items that are, I consider legitimate, reproductions of the lobby cards and such, would make for a great box set with audio. I don't know how many outtakes are available from the Help period. I assume there's not tons, but whatever there is, I think to couple it together with this set would be wonderful. This is a script. I think this is also very cool. So you can see the care that they took with this release. And let me get it back together here. You can see the advantage that the Beatles have, having such great visuals, all the film stuff to go with it. Now, again, Help has been released on a couple of occasions, and this, I'm not sure if this is out of print either. There's plenty you can buy. So that's the Help version I came up with that I think would sell. Number 5 here would be Anthology 4. I would be all for that if there are enough outtakes to justify a 4th volume. And that would be stuff that's not available on these other box sets. I hate to buy stuff I already have. There's another opportunity there to release Carnival of Light. I know that's a tough one, but you know, politically at Apple, that's the problem. That's why it's not being released. And everybody's got a price. I would think that something could be done, that it could be released legitimately. And I think that would be a draw. Next one, A Hard Day's Night. Just like Help, that could be something that could be packaged with the audio. So the audio, I've done a review on the American version of the United Artists LP, which has been mostly unheard in Europe, but it's a very interesting curio, and I think that would make a great companion piece to a remix of that album should they decide to do it, which I think they will, I hope they will. And then of course, then you got whatever outtakes. That's plenty there, and then you have a release, you have the movie also released with that box. Now this is the Miramax version. This came out in I think about 2000. This company got sold, opening up the way for Criterion to do their version in 2014. So there you go, 2014. And let me just show you this book, which you may not be aware of. This is called A Hard Day's Night, A Private Archive. So this is one of the problems of doing a box like this as being done by Apple, is Apple does not own this movie. Does that mean it couldn't be done? Of course not. It could be done. It's just that they get the money, not all the money goes in their pockets. This was sold to a private collector named the Karsh family, and this book goes into all that and has tons of wonderful color photos, everything you want to know, script pages. This book is actually out of print. And this is written by Mark Lewison, so you can rest assured that he would not be invited to partake in any kind of Hard Day's Night release because he's been on the outs with them. I may do a video on that, as a matter of fact, but you can see the potential of just the sheer amount of great material that would make for a very good box set. And for whatever reason, the Beatles chose not to buy A Hard Day's Night, so they don't own it. But like I said, nothing is impossible when it comes to this kind of stuff. And the Beatles typically hold the upper hand. And, you know, although I don't think stuff could sell as well as it did maybe 10 years ago, I mean, really this box set stuff is new territory. 2017 is when this Beatles stuff really happened, and we started expecting this every year. So it's kind of newer territory, so I don't know. I think any of this is game. Okay, next on the list, number 7 that you guys voted on was the Decca Audition. Now, the Decca Audition, to me, would be the album before Please Please Me. And I think the reason we may never see it is because Ringo Starr's not involved in it. So as part of the Beatles, if they were to release this, he would get a cut, obviously, but then you'd have to pay Pete Best. Now, they only used, I think, 3 songs from that audition on the Anthology 1, which I thought was a paltry sum. And, you know, hey, if you got to pay Pete Best, pay him. I mean, I think this is an important artifact. And the Beatles did not play that well. The only guy that was really doing well, in my opinion, was George Harrison. The other 3 guys, it wasn't a good audition. But nonetheless, it is of historical importance. So that wouldn't necessarily have to be a fancy box set. Maybe it's just a nice gatefold LP, vinyl, and then a CD companion. I mean, that's one of those things that doesn't have to be an over-the-top fancy box. Okay, what else we got here? We got the last 3 albums I haven't mentioned. 3 of the 4 anyway. Beatles for Sale, Please Please Me, with the Beatles. So to me, as a fan, I'm looking for the outtakes during those periods. Certainly you could have a nice bound book with those. There's great photography available, so much photography. There's probably been nobody more photographed than the Beatles, especially during Beatlemania. So I'm sure they could put together something worthwhile. Not to mention, perhaps you could couple some live stuff with it as well if you felt that it needed some beefing up. Okay, other vote getters from you guys a year ago included the Let It Be film on Blu-ray or DVD. We still haven't gotten that. We got that Disney Plus. That came and went with a whisper. People like physical media. This is a bootleg. It seems to me that they could release maybe a companion piece to this, which I thought was lacking in music. It seemed like this release, though it's beautiful and looks great, that they were too focused, or they let the Peter Jackson film that came out right around that time carry the weight, and that got all the attention. Well, I did an album that never was, that included 2 more discs of audio tracks that could have been included. Well, you could do a part 2 to this with the actual Let It Be movie, with this stuff, and then even a soundtrack that would include the rooftop performance, which everybody is asking for. And why they are not doing that, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because they're not listening to us. That's why. You know, you hear these fans that make excuses for Apple. Oh, they're a business. They're doing what they think makes them money. Well, that may well be true, but I think that they do not have the ear of the fan. They seem to be so far away from what the fans want that they've got their ideas and they just want to do their thing without the fans' input. I think that's a mistake. Okay, how about the mono box set? That came out 2012, 14, I can't remember. I do have it right here. This is the CD version. I didn't buy the vinyl version because I had a lot of that already. And it's going now for like $1,500 to $3,200. When that came out, I think it was in the $400, $500 range. I can't remember. But when the prices are going that high, triple and quadruple what it originally was, just 10 or 12 or 14 years ago, that means maybe there's demand for it. How about the Shea Stadium show? Professionally shot. Could get a DVD of that. The Japan show, the 66 Japan show, is also professionally shot. Expanded Hollywood Bowl. Is there film on that? I'm not sure. They came out with an updated version of that, but with only 4 additional tracks. The Washington, D.C. show, that could maybe use some special treatment. The Beatle cartoons. People talk about that all the time. And the cartoons, you know, you hear Apple talk about the decision to do these remixes is because, well, the young people today, they got to hear it mixed in a certain way. Yeah, we're trying to appeal to the young people. How about appealing to children with Beatle music, with the Beatles cartoons? There's no better way to appeal to young people. They will watch it, and the parents will buy it for them. So that's one opportunity I think that they're missing. The Beatles BBC. There could be a very nice package of this. This is a newer package where they came up with a volume 2, basically 4 albums. Maybe it's 3 albums each. I don't remember. I don't have this on vinyl, but I upgraded my copy to this. Very nicely done. I'm not sure. There may be other songs available that weren't in here, but I'm sure many of you would buy an expanded version on vinyl. You know, vinyl today for some of you guys, it's like the crack cocaine of the older generation, you know? All right, next one I didn't mention was Yellow Submarine. Again, another film that we have to couple with the audio. All kinds of good things that could come from that. I don't know what outtakes would be available, but I think that could be maybe a more modest box set. But I think that people would buy it, especially if the film was included. I actually was looking on my shelf. I have never owned that film, so I still need to buy it. And I'm kind of waiting to buy it until something like this would come out. Okay, I just listed 20 things that people have been asking for that Apple so far has not given us. And what they are giving us is stuff we haven't asked for, like a remixed reconfiguration of the Red and Blue albums in a fancy box, and the 1964 US albums in a fancy box. So what next is going to come that we haven't asked for? I don't know. I had a couple other ideas here, if any of you from Apple are actually watching. One thing was, and these are easy ones, these can be stuff that come out in spring, not the big thing at the Christmas time. This box set of the Christmas Flexis came out, I think 2016. And I thought this was long overdue. And these were just the 45 size versions with a nice booklet, nice artwork, nice story, very well reproduced. I haven't opened these yet. This is one of those things I'd never really planned to play because I got the stuff digitized. But I thought this was something that was very nicely done. And what they could do as a part 2 to this, aside from re-releasing this, because this now is going for about 85 to 100 bucks. I think it's already out of print. What they could do is release the album version. I mean, maybe do a gatefold, maybe just very nicely done on vinyl. And the CD version can have some of the outtakes on it. So I think that would be a no-brainer. What does it cost you? I don't know. I think, and you know, kind of goes along with Christmas and the holidays. I use the term no-brainer. I'm going to say it again. That makes total sense to me. And for some reason, they just have not done that. Another one I've talked about off and on, and I've done a video on this one. Why not release the butcher cover on vinyl? I'm sure there's Beatle fans that are 22 years old and 32 years old, whatever. They're not going to buy an original. You can't afford it. But maybe give them something nice like a gatefold. You can reconfigure this album to include some live music from the 66 shows. All this great artwork they did at the Japanese hotel. You know, it wouldn't have to be super fancy. Doesn't need a box, just a standalone album. And a standalone, if you wanted to do a CD, you could. I don't know that would be necessary. But again, I think this is something that would sell. I love it just to talk about. People that don't know the Beatles, when I have them over, the topic, we always go to the butcher cover because they haven't seen it and the story behind it is really compelling. All right, I need a sip here. I'm back on my Oktoberfest. Okay, so we've got all these ideas, and as I said, now that we are us privileged Beatle collectors expect something. So I mean, we are spoiled, no question. We are the most spoiled people in the music collector world, probably, and I think that that's why I've kind of pulled back from some of this collecting. You know, as nice as some of it is, a lot of this stuff is now made for us to buy and to sit on the shelf to be admired, not to play, not to take out of the package. We don't throw away the hype stickers, you know, as if this is going to hold its value. I question whether it's going to hold its value. I don't know. A lot of it won't. Some of it, some things I believe will, but typically I collect a lot of things. And I know collectors, and I know how over the years, particularly the last 50 years of my life, when I've been able to collect, most things just don't hold their value. The things that you plan on saving that you think are going to be worth something typically are not. There are exceptions, of course, but I think the idea that buying all this stuff on spec that's going to be worth something and making your own little museum, I don't know. I think that's a mistake. I think we're getting too far away from the music. Which brings me to my next point, and that is the box set mania that we see. You know, one of the things that really bothers me is, I just realized I forgot one of my ideas. Let me just give you one of these before, because I think this is a good idea. Sorry. These are a couple sets of CDs that came out that were just interviews. My idea of putting together an historical chronology of their interviews as Beatles from 62 to 70 and put them in a nice box set with a booklet that details where these came from, where they were shot, a little bit of that. So that would be, I'm more of a historian, so that to me, I think I would like to hear. I do like to listen to their interviews. They're fascinating to hear when you hear them speak. This is another thing I thought would make some sense. Let me know your opinion on that. Okay, getting back to where I was leaving off. The box set mania. Now, as we go forward here, we're starting to notice several of these sets over $1,000. And what I'm seeing is the industry is creating a merchandising tier for the elite. Take the John Lennon Cube, for example. Mind Games. So the Cube, which I didn't get, is a 40-pound cube full of 9 albums and some other things that go in there, that essentially the additional $1,000+ really don't go toward buying any more music. You're not getting anything musical out of that extra money. You're getting the cube, you're getting picture discs, you're getting CDs, you're getting Blu-rays, you're getting some art lithographs or whatever. It's not all in the music. I mean, what does it cost to put a couple more CDs in there or Blu-rays? It shouldn't be another $1,000. So what I'm getting at is that, these things are becoming, like I said earlier, these are like museum pieces for people to show off. And I saw somebody bragging on some Beatle Facebook page that a lot of people have complained about the price of this box set. And some of the people were complaining, sticking up for Apple or sticking up for whoever produced that, the Lennon camp, saying that, well, hey, it's sold out. People want it. It's very popular. Wait a minute here. They only made 1,100 of them, which means that they figured 3,000 of them wouldn't sell. And that album as a whole, that release really underperformed, did not chart. So, okay, 1,100 Lennon fans bought that. All right. It's not like they're going to buy that and play it much. I mean, at that price, why would you? That price, taking it in and out and showing people, it becomes prohibitive because you might ruin it. And people think these things are going to hold value. In fact, people are already trying to resell these for $2,000 to $2,800 in that range. And they're not moving. And what we also see is we see people like brokers buying these. Since there are so few available, they artificially increase the price of them by selling them on the secondary market. And a lot of people get into this. It's like the live ticket shows. You've got these huge corporations now that are basically legal ticket brokers, and that's now happening with our box sets and some of these things. Let's talk about the George Harrison All Things Must Pass box. Very similar. This was a very pricey item, and here's one I saw in San Francisco that was like $300 more than it was everywhere else in the world. But this came with a wooden box that was felled from his property. It wasn't cut down. They don't want you to think they're cutting down the trees. The tree fell down. So they're making bookmarks out of this tree. You've got garden gnomes and all this stuff. This is, again, not musical. This has nothing to do with the music. And although these things might be kind of nice for fans, I just think that, again, we're getting into this $1,000 range, which really aces out 99% of the fans. It sends a bad message. Fans don't really like to have stuff put out by their favorite bands that they can't get, because rock music is supposed to be accessible, is basically what I'm saying. Ditto for Egypt Station, Paul McCartney. That was the Suitcase Traveler. I think that retailed around it was in the $400 range. So you can go on eBay now, and they're trying to be sold for about that price, and they're not moving much. So that really hasn't gained any value. That was a limited edition of 3,000. These are novelty items, and expensive ones at that. And the ex-Beatles aren't the only ones doing this. I mean, this has been going on for a long time, and the Beatles weren't even pioneering this. The pioneers of merchandise were the band Kiss, and I think they crossed a line when they came out with the Kiss casket. And if there was any band that was going to do something not tasteful in the merchandising realm, it would be Kiss. And the casket, which I think was out of $4,000 or something, but I don't know, talk about morbid. But Kiss has always been, in my view, even in the 70s as a kid, I just couldn't be fooled by the merchandising even then. They've been nothing really but merchandising. So if you are into the music, you have things like the road case that you can purchase. That's going for, I think that retailed in the $4,000 range. I think that's going for even more now. So you get this as if you're an actual working band in this road case with the casters and everything, with all the albums that people already have. Zeppelin did the same thing. So again, these are for people that can really afford it. These are for people, I mean, talk about first world problems, people. We can't afford these road case sets. But it really, I think, is silly, and it's getting away from venerating the bands and their catalogs just because people have money to spend on this stuff. I don't begrudge the people that have the money to spend on it. They can do what they like. Like I said, I've collected a lot of things over the years, and I've spent money on things that people would say, why would you spend money on that? So I understand the collector mentality, but this is the way I collected is I was collecting old stuff that wasn't meant to be collectible. Now stuff is being produced with the idea that it is marketed as a collectible. Two very different things. Those are the things, typically the things that are marketed as collectibles are typically what you don't make your money back on. Well, you might make your money back on it. You're not going to make any additional money on it. Typical rule of thumb that I've discovered over my years of collecting. So anyway, I just wanted to leave you with that, a little update. We have, I don't know what's going to come out next, but I'm sure it's going to be controversial. And leave your comments below. What do you guys think? Is this going too far? Will you just buy anything? Are you slowing down? How selective are you? I'm getting more and more selective as I get older. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. Check out my Patreon subscription. If you want to donate in a bigger way, that's a great help to me. I've got some merchandising that gives you something in your hand that, look at me, I'm as bad as Apple. Look at that. A little more affordable prices on the Pop Goes the 60s website, though. So I hope you find something there you like. If not, the free thing to do is hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.